through that. And in comparison to Guilty Gear Xrd, people are going to be fucking pissed because Guilty Gear Xrd has so much all the characters can do. Still, you have a game that you can do a lot of shit, but perspective's a bitch. So the people that have been playing Xrd for the past 5-6 years are probably going to continue playing Xrd. And that makes a lot of sense because a lot of people that played Guilty Gear up until Accent Core and shit pretty much liked Guilty Gear and didn't like Xrd. Marvel 2 players hated Marvel 3. Marvel 3 players hated Marvel Infinite. This is just the natural way of things. And some people will adopt, some people won't. The whole point of fighting games changing is that they take a risk at changing shit so that they can grab more new audience that is going to replace the audience that drops stuff. Answers to concerns from developers. The game is not intended to be, oh, this is actually echoing what I just said. The game is not intended to be a continuation of previous titles. The basis of our development is to create everything completely new. I hope you can keep in mind as you read on. And I agree with that. There were some like dust loops. There were some things that characters did in Guilty Gear Xrd that was very similar to the previous games. It was almost like the goal of Guilty Gear Xrd was to execute a 2D fighting game in 3D and have it still be 2D, right? Have it still feel like this is still classic Guilty Gear. So a lot of shit in Xrd in many ways that characters could do, they were doing similar shit, right? The characters still had stuff that they were doing from the previous game, the characters that weren't, you know, that were legacy. I get exactly what the sentiment, because their previous game, and obviously it changed with multiple versions, was the goal was just to recreate the 2D game in 3D, and it did it, right? They absolutely did it. So, regarding the gameplay of Strive, damage is too high. So Daisuke says, a central idea behind this title is that you can deal big damage without memorizing long combos, as was required in previous games. They also made the damage extreme in the beta test to get that idea across. Before the game's release, they'll be adjusting it by carefully looking at player feedback and match results. That's kind of the same feeling I got. I don't feel like the damage is going to be identical to what we played in the beta test. I don't think Wild Throw is going to be dropping your ass 40%, right? I don't think that's going to be happening. I think them testing the playing field, this is a way for devs to sort of address the accessibility issue without finalizing the aspects of the game. Just mess around with it a little bit and see if the results really change. Does this actually change things in terms of character matchups? Does this actually change things in terms of new player compared to slightly not as new player to hardcore player, right? In terms of those skill bases, those skill gaps, is this going to change it? And the beta test hopefully is going to give them some information on that, if not subsequent beta tests in the future. So I don't mind high damage, right? I actually would prefer faster rounds instead of longer rounds. But is it painfully clear when a character like Chip gets command grabbed by anyone else that has a command grab and you see more than 50% of his life immediately gone? Wow, this game is crazy. Game is crazy. Yeah, I don't mind it. Dorito health, that's a good way of calling it. Yeah, Dorito health. I do think that it's not going to be final, and I do think there needs to be a middle ground in between all this shit. Fewer Gatling combo routes and how Gatling combos appear to the game's combo system from previous games. In previous Guilty Gear titles, players could cancel many normal moves into their combo paths or parts with relative freedom. In Strive, we made restrictions on this so that it's more difficult to combo into damaging moves from fast, small, normal moves. By doing so, we've introduced a greater emphasis on choosing which normal move you use to start your combo based on the situation and goal at the time. Damage scaling, everything like that. This change makes it difficult to put experience from previous titles to use in Strive, and we've heard many concerns and criticisms from fans in the series. In addition, we've heard the option that being able to get a combo simply by pressing each button in order made combos simple, meaning that Guilty Gear Strive is more difficult. And here's my take on it. If you start combos from light attacks, obviously your fastest move, easiest to hit confirm into. This is where Street Fighter 4 sort of ran into a bumpy road as well, and they addressed it in Street Fighter 5. I don't think combos starting from like light attacks and like, you know, power up Gatlings going from, you know, punch to slash to heavy, like right, like things starting from low damage to high damage is an issue with Guilty Gear Strive, because I feel like with the way the game presents its damage, you can still have Gatling combos. I think this is an oversimplification. I absolutely agree with everyone that Gatling should come back, because if it means that you need to start combos from punches, from like light attacks that are fast and hit confirmable, and that you have to specifically start your damage scaling, that those things just need to not nearly do as much damage, that if you kept the damage that this game has with its individual, you know, less Gatling-filled combos, then people are going to prioritize that stuff. But if you still want to go for safe route stuff and you still want to have your Gatling stuff and it does less damage than the other shit, I'm okay with that. I think that's way better than removing options from the player. I think having options as the player is what makes fighting games so much fun. And that's one of the things that makes Guilty Gear an exemplary example of what makes fighting games fun, is that you have so many options. There's so much shit you can do. So if it means that you need to be a bit more aggressive on some of the Gatling stuff, then just be a bit more aggressive and have it do less damage. Just have it do way less damage than it even did in Guilty Gear Xrd. But just having that option available should be available, in my personal opinion. So, Daisuke responds with, an important concept in this game is placing greater importance on choosing your moves based on the current situation. I agree. I do think it's more difficult in the sense that muscle memory won't really work, but there should be fewer mechanics for new players to learn before they can enjoy playing matches. And this is a part that I think this sort of rhetoric, this is where Arc System Works wants to try to get Guilty Gear out there. This is exactly what happens to fighting game developers, where they have a game and they're trying to reach a broader audience. And the number one thing, what did we do in our previous games? We expanded, we added upon it, we added characters. What did we do in the next game? We had genre-defining 3D graphics that emulate 2D graphics. The best of its kind still doesn't sell well. Well, what are we going to do in the next game? Well, we can't just make the graphics. I mean, we're going to make the graphics better, but that's clearly not what it takes to sell. Now we're going to need to do something else. Clearly, it must be the gameplay. And that is where I do not agree.